So I just have to say, did you ever think you would be discussing? I I don't know, a Republican Party that gives a platform to someone that outwardly says, "Wasn't that Hitler great?" I mean, it's not. I mean, it's not funny, but it's just this insanity.
Right.
Do you watch the
It's
clip
not
yesterday?
funny. A lot of this is not funny, except that these are people who control things in society, right?
Right.
They're not a bunch of fringe yahoos. They're fringe yahoos in charge of stuff,
Yeah.
and then they're being enabled by more what you would have thought of were more mainstream fringy people, right?
Right.
Regular conservatives. And that's what I'm having trouble with is why is condemning this a problem? Why is Nick Fuentes meeting with Donald Trump? Because that's just stupid to say that you wouldn't know who he is, although he used exactly the same language about meeting with Nick Fuentes as he did when David Duke endorsed him in 2016, if you remember.
Yeah.
And the Kanye West stuff, it's like, just stop already. Every time this guy talks, he says something ridiculous. At some point, Donald Trump's got to evaluate. I'd like to win more votes than the other guy next time, which means I've got to appeal to a different crowd because I've got 100% of the extremist, white nationalist, Holocaust denying, racist, misogynistic, sexist, homophobic crowd. So I've got to grow my pie a little bit. And Ye and Fuentes are not helping me do that. So I don't, there's no part of this that makes sense in this world. But Stephanie, there's many parts of the last 6 years that haven't made sense.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that the House Judiciary GOP just took down finally yesterday their tweet that just said Kanye, Elon, Trump, which is a perfect, that's who that's who they think are their heroes. That's their Mount Rushmore, right? And it took, I mean, here's the thing, they don't disapprove of his anti-Semitism. They're just like, don't be mentally ill enough to say it so explicitly.
Right.
Don't actually say Hitler was
up.
great and I hate Jews. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. And it's fairly developed anti-Semitism. It's not just the odd thing. I think it does happen that it's not, there's no excuse for it, but inadvertently someone will make a comparison to Hitler that's inappropriate or say something that they didn't know was a well-established trope. That's not what's going on with Ye. He goes deep into stuff. He's clearly reading stuff or getting it from someone that is really, really deep, subliminal and sometimes fully conscious anti-Semitism. And at some point, the president does, it is a clown car around him, but it's actually a clown car of real people who've held positions in the world, some of whom are Jewish. Like at some point, someone needs to tell this guy, what exactly are you doing? What he's doing is solidifying that 30% base that won't go to Ron DeSantis or anyone else. He is guaranteeing that it might be a couple of cycles before the Republican Party is able to once again function as a party that has policy discussions.
Yeah.
And I welcome that when they come back.
What do you make
of
Elon?
Not what we had.
Right.
What do you make of Elon Musk going, oh no, this is too much now? Now he's pulling his Twitter account. I mean, what was the difference between all his previous Jew-hating tweets?
What was the difference between all his previous stuff? But he's been, Elon Musk's been uniquely crazy this week, right? He talked about how Tim Cook was going to censor him, which it really speaks to Elon Musk's fundamental misunderstanding of the First Amendment, and that is that the government cannot censor what you do. Apple can totally take Twitter off the App Store if it feels like it. The discussion was actually around Twitter not moderating its content and Apple doing that, so that would have been entirely justified. But now he says he's hanging around with Tim Cook, and it was all a misunderstanding. I don't know why anybody listens to him either. At some point, stop listening to Kanye about anything and stop listening to Elon Musk about anything, which is sad, by the way, in both cases, because Kanye is a gifted artist and Elon Musk is a guy who's thought about Mars and electric cars, and he moves the needle on stuff and could have been really good for humanity.
Yeah. As a newsman, I can't believe what you have to tweet. Friends, 3 Oath Keepers are convicted of seditious conspiracy, and I hope you're sitting down for this. Some Republicans are sad that their guy running for president dined with a Holocaust denier. I mean, it's just,
the pearl clutching if you're a Republican this week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you said Merriam-Webster names gaslighting as the word of the year. I mean, this week we always have this conversation with you, Ellie, as a newsman that's dealt in facts and journalism all your life. What it is like to live in this world where they are vaccine deniers, election deniers that are just there is an alternate.
Weren't climate deniers cute? Like that was a few years back, right? They're not around as much as they used to be. And when it was announced that Trump would be back on Twitter, that was my first thought, is that it sucked up so much of my time and energy, and it because you have to run down these stories. You have to confirm or deny that because he will say something about a policy change that will affect a lot of people. So you as a journalist have to be able to say that's not true, or that would require congressional approval, or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
And when people would ask me during the Trump era, what's the worst outcome of the Trump presidency? And I said, all the important stories you didn't know, because Donald Trump's gaslighting or lying took all the oxygen out of every room, and that's what he does.
How does
the gaslighting?
Journalists like Ali Velshi coexist with this? We played a clip earlier this week. The good liars and others go out and interview, people at MAGA rallies, and the last ones were Joe Biden's dead, and he's being played by Jim Carrey and possibly James Woods, and then there was this one. Take a listen.
You think that Trump is actually still in power right now?
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
So you think Biden is not the current president right now?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. Never believed it.
So Trump is the current president right now?
Yes, sir.
So are you mad at Trump for the high gas prices?
No. It's not Trump's fault.
Whose fault is it then?
It's Joe. He's got to set all this.
But Joe
up.
Biden, where's Joe Biden? He said he's not president.
He's not the president.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is.
So how could the gas prices be his fault if he's not president?
What you don't understand what they're trying to do. They have to wake up the dingleberries that are still asleep.
What?
Okay.
Wake up the whom?
The dingleberries.
Never mind. Let's just not repeat it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Ali, this is,
wow.
And again, I know we can go, oh, that's funny, what an idiot, but,
These people exist.
Yeah.
And they're among us, and they vote.
Yeah. And I don't know
Right,
whether...
so that's interesting, because I've until I heard that, I've been thinking that there are two buckets. I had an argument with somebody who called into a show yesterday who said that I give too much credit to people who don't really understand racism in this country. And I said, no, I think I put people into categories, right? There are racists, there are homophobes, there are all those things. But there are some people who in good faith are fearful about what their future is going to look like, and they don't consume enough information, they don't read the right stuff, and now we're banning books, and that makes it worse. So I was sort of trying to make the distinction between there's good faith people who really think that if you send their child to school and they read these books, their child will come home queer and black, and they need to be talked to about that. There are the Nick Fuentes of the world, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. They're actually avowed bad folk. But what you were playing is people in the middle. It's not bad faith stuff. This is what gaslighters do, right? This is exactly the outcome of gaslighting. You say something enough times, 7 times I'm told, according to research, if you're a person of import, and enough people will believe you because they don't know where to go for the information to not believe you. They're not watching. They're not listening to you. They're not watching me. They're getting their source from – they probably think they're getting 3 or 4 sources of information because it's Breitbart and Alex Jones and so, InfoWars or Steve Bannon. And so it's all the same world of stuff. In the old days – nonsense couldn't make it to mainstream news. But now what happens is it shows up. It was on 8chan and 4chan and places like that. Then it would go to Alex Jones. Then somebody would pick it up from Fox, from Alex Jones. And then it would go to Lou Dobbs and Maria Bartiromo and places like that. And now it's mainstream stuff. It doesn't make it all the way to the Wall Street Journal, but it's the folks you were just playing probably aren't subscribing to the Wall Street Journal. So that's the problem, that you get tricked into putting nonsense and conspiracy theory into mainstream conservative media. And then you have Arizona, and you have Michigan, and you have Pennsylvania. And they all dodged a big Democratic bullet in the midterms. But Arizona, Carrie Lake, I think, is still not conceding that she's lost the election, and they're suing.
Ow.